Well, joining us now is William Mark McCullough. Mark, welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be chatting with you guys today.
Well, we're excited to have you. You're one of the first main guest stars that we've gotten since the show has premiered, the new series. And you get the fun part of being the bad guy in this episode.
Yes.
And I see it's just the latest in an acting resume that is kind of packed with heavies and darker roles. And I was doing some research on you. I found that kind of surprising because I saw in your life before acting, you were kind of steeped in like Law and Order. So can you tell us a bit about how you made the transition from your pre-acting life into acting?
Sure. I actually fell in love with acting in college and studied, theater and didn't learn one thing about how to get a job as an actor. So when I graduated from school, like a lot of lost souls, I went to law school thinking, well, that's something to kill 3 years. And I like DC. And I got out of law school, started working as a prosecutor and was miserable and really just, I really loved acting. I just didn't know what to do. And I took a trip down to Nicaragua just as a fun trip, got in a really bad car accident and spent about 5 weeks in the hospital. And it literally just changed the trajectory of my life. It made me realize, life is so short. You got to do what you love. So when I healed up enough to get back to the States, I quit my job, moved to LA, and started what I lovingly refer to as my ramen noodle years, as I tried to learn how to maneuver this industry. But it is interesting because in real life, if you ask my mom and my grandmom and hopefully my brothers and sisters, they tell you I'm a teddy bear and a very sweet, loving person. But I have certainly made a career of playing not very nice people.
That's for sure. How did Quantum Leap come your way?
I got to say, first of all, I'll premise this by saying that Quantum Leap is my favorite show of all time, the original. I loved it as a kid, didn't miss an episode. And basically, I got an audition from my agent in LA. And, nowadays we basically tape our auditions on camera and email them in. And I remember getting it and I was so excited. And I wrote my agent and said, "Oh my God, this is my favorite show of all time." And he wrote me back and he said, "Me too. I'm so excited." And so the crazy thing is, you have to bring another actor over to read with you because I'm taping the audition at my house. So the person who comes over to my house, she had not seen the show, back, when it was originally out. So I start telling her a little bit about the show and I start describing to her the series finale. And I literally break down in tears telling her about the series finale right before I do the audition to play this really bad character on the new iteration of the show. So I got to say, I work a lot and I'm always very grateful for every job I get. But I have not been as excited about booking a job as I was about booking this one since I was a wee little baby new actor. I was just so thrilled to be a part of the Quantum Leap world.
That's amazing. And it's not often we get people who have such a love for the original series. A lot of the people we speak to are, it was before their time or they're new to it. They're just discovering it. You say you're excited by it. Was there also a sense of heavy weight on your shoulders joining this long legacy? Or was it just that much fun that just bypassed that part of your brain?
It was mostly fun. For me, like getting to be a part of the universe of something that was so important to me as a kid. I literally felt like a little kid waking up on Christmas morning over and over and over with a giant pony in front. It was just like every day on the way to set, I was just pinching myself saying, this is amazing. And I couldn't shut up about it on set about how excited I was to be there. I'm sure they probably got tired of hearing me say it, but I really was. And I loved the script. And it was just this combination of factors that was magical. The script was wonderful. I loved the original show. The cast could not have been kinder, more just accepting and loving and supportive. The crew was amazing. The director, the writers, the producers, the showrunner. It was just, you work on shows, you work on films, and generally they're all pretty good. But every once in a while you come across one like this one where you can just tell they've created this environment of joy and love and support. And it was one of the most magical moments, even taking away the fact that I'm such a huge fan of the show, just from a pure work experience, it was magical. Like they were all so amazing to work with.
That is terrific to hear. Oh, now that I know that you're one of us, I want to pick your brain about the old series and totally geek out, but I'm going to stick to the episode that you starred in first. You were talking about working on the set, and this is by far one of the most cinematic episodes of the new series that we've seen yet. And you had a lot of action scenes, including horseback riding and gunslinging. And I just want to know a little bit about how you guys brought that dynamic to life, because it seemed like a very, very active kind of shoot.
Mm-hmm. It was very active. From a from an acting perspective, it was probably one of the most difficult shoots I've done. I can give monologues and I can ride a horse, but doing those at the same time brought a lot a lot of complexity to both. That was difficult. Uh, but they had a great team. They sent me to training to ride the horses and kind of prep what we were going to do. They had really great experts on set to kind of help me out. Um, but it was just, it was in some ways difficult, but at the same time, I mean, I felt like an 8-year-old kid, getting to play, dress up like a cowboy and shoot them up and jump on horses. I mean, it was pretty exciting, the whole concept. Um, but they made sure there was a team in place that allowed us to look like we knew what we were doing.
So, if you can you tell us a little bit more about how that works? Because you said you were riding a horse and you have a monologue, but then you have more, I guess, establishing shots, more master shots where there is a lot of activity. Is that more stunt people? Is that you guys? Like how do they get all of that together?
Well, there was nothing really too stunt oriented as far as what I did. So they had a double there for me at my disposal, but I didn't need him because, basically, uh, I ride into town, I give the speech, I ride out. So there's nothing crazy that I was doing on a horse. So uh, I guess just in case I was uncomfortable or couldn't do it, they had someone there available for me, but I didn't need to. Now, the folks who were part of my gang, they were expert horse riders. They were stunt folks who were well versed in all the things they were doing.
That's cool. I also noticed that one of the gang members was female, which
Hmm.
you didn't get on first glance. It took me a couple of times of seeing the episode, but I said, "Oh, someone's wearing boots with heels," so it was a neat little twist on that.
Hmm.
And it's not the first time that we've spoken to guest stars who have worked closely with stunt people, not just as doubles to do action, but it seems that the production uses stunt people as extras
Hmm.
in quite a few episodes. We spoke to
Hmm.
Mark Brawler, who is one of the one that's been in at least two. So it's just a neat. I don't think we've ever in interviewing people for the show heard that part of it. So I find it
Hmm.
very interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like as you saw, we have the kind of the shootout scene at the end, and there's fire involved, and one of my gang members gets drug across the front of the saloon. So they kind of just brought those guys in as stunt people from the very beginning, uh, and they're professionals, so they're very good at what they do, and they looked. If I haven't seen the show yet, but they looked amazing, on set as the roles. So.
Just to build on Chris's question a little bit, one of the other things that we're getting a picture of behind the scenes is that there's a lot of expertise being brought in to support the actors. Did those stunt people with that expertise, were they helping you in terms of the physicality behind the role?
Well, I had folks who helped me with the horses that weren't on camera. They were very very helpful in just showing me. I showed up for a few days before we started shooting. I think it was 3 days, and went to their location. Actually, got on the horse that I rode in the show, and kind of went through all the steps that we were going to do. And they were there. When we did the wide shots, the master shots, obviously they weren't close by, but when we did the close ups, they were right off camera just in case something went wrong. And also with horses, like I just finished Friday evening a show I've been working the last 5 weeks that involved a lot of horse riding. And what I found is the horses get so excited when they hear action and there's all the extras and all the energy going on, it really gets them amped up. And they'll be sitting there very calmly between takes. And as soon as the AD calls action, they're just kind of all, they're filled up with energy. So getting a horse to sit still while I'm trying to give a speech to the town was very difficult. So one of the guys who was, knows what he's doing, just off camera, kind of helping keep the horse calm and steady so I could do what I needed to do without spinning around in circles with this horse being all amped up.
So tell us a little bit more about the logistics of the shoot. You said that you were there for about 3 days, but it looked like you had some daytime shooting, you had some nighttime shooting. What is the shooting schedule like for the new series?
I was actually there filming for 2 weeks. I was doing horse
Oh,
riding
wow.
training for 3 days. So, uh,
Oh,
yeah, they
2 week
before we
shoot.
started filming, I went to a facility where they literally just spent 3 days showing me how to ride the horse, showing me what I needed to do. But when we started filming, it was for 8 or 9 days, I believe. I started on a Wednesday and shot through the following Friday.
Wow. That's pretty intense. Is that a long time for a TV show?
That's
For an
normal
episode?
for a 1 hour drama. It's generally 8 days. The show I'm working on now, we're doing an eight
Mm,
day shoot. That's pretty run of the mill. But it's amazing to me
okay.
how much they get done in 8 days. That's I'm a filmmaker as well, and doing whatever it is, 48 minutes in 8 days is pretty amazing, especially at the level of quality that they deliver at.
Yeah, it's amazing to me just how much goes into every episode of TV that we see. We've spoken to many types of crew people, from editors to directors to guest stars like yourself, and just the massive machinery that has to go into motion to get one episode of television done is staggering. And speaking to that, you said that you also work on the other side of the camera
Mhm.
as a producer. We see that you have some writing credits, even some director credits. What projects are you working on outside of the acting stuff?
Mhm. Well, I actually wrote, directed, and produced a movie called A Savannah Haunting, and we're getting a select theater release nationwide October 28th, and it'll be available on all major digital platforms. But I wrote the script based on real events that had happened in my family's home in Savannah, Georgia, and very proud of it. We were one of the first films in the country to shoot during COVID, so we faced some pretty major obstacles, but we had the film do a film festival run around the world, and we won a ton of best film awards, best actor, best actress, and we won awards where usually horror films aren't beating out dramas for best film, but we were. So I'm very proud of it. And folks are interested, they can check out a savannahhaunting.com. But yeah, it'll be playing in a lot of places, and it's something that a lot of folks came together to make that. Um, but I look at how difficult it was to make that movie, and we were shooting probably 6 7 pages a day, um, and I look at some of these television shows that are just the level of stuff they do, and the logistics of some of the things, like with the episode of Quantum Leap. I mean, just we're shooting on the NBC backlot, which I was told is the oldest film lot in the world. Like, I think dates back to the early 1900s. Um, and just all they went through. I mean, they created this saloon that one week it's just an empty building. The following week it's this gorgeous, beautiful saloon, fully outfitted, as if it's 1879. It blows me away watching the craftsmen and the folks who bring their expertise to these shows, and how fast they do it and how fast they edit it. I mean, we shot this. I think I wrapped this show 5 weeks ago, and it's already on. That time span is such a short period of time to go from finishing to it airing. So yeah, my hat's off to all the folks that bring it to the screen.
If I can back up a little bit to A Savannah Haunting, based on something you said, are you telling us you grew up in a haunted house?
Yes, yes. The house is it had always
That's
been
terrifying.
it had always had things going on, very very weird, sometimes scary, dark things. And I moved away after high school, And my family would chat about it a little bit, but we never went into any detail because you just didn't want to sound like you were crazy, right? And I was living in LA for a long time, and I returned to Savannah for some family reasons several years ago. And so it was the first time I'd spent any real time in the house since I was a little kid. And I was there about 9 months, and it reached a point where it was terrifying to be in the house. Like I just, the upstairs was off limits. Like I just wouldn't even walk upstairs during the middle of the day. It was so scary. And my producing partner came to visit, and she stayed in one of the rooms upstairs and had a terrifying experience. And then we started talking, and she said, "Look, you should really capture some of the things that have gone on in this house and turn it into a screenplay." And I did that, and I just it was rather easy to write the script because so much had happened to me in the house and to people who had lived there, people who had visited. And like I said, we got shut down because of COVID for about 5 months before we could actually start filming. From the point we started till the time we actually got finished. So we shot this documentary, a feature-length documentary, kind of covering the history of the haunting. We brought in, lots of paranormal experts, a voodoo priestess, an Eastern Orthodox priest. We brought in historians. And one of the things I found so interesting, like I didn't direct that because I thought, it's so close to me, I'm going to step back and let someone else direct it. But they interviewed me first. And I kind of explained all the stories that happened to me, all the kind of supernatural events that happened to me. Then they went and interviewed other people who had lived in the house, over the past 30 years. And what was so shocking is the number of stories that were exactly the same, and they had no idea what had happened to me, and I didn't know what happened to them. But you can watch the interviews back to back, and it's just so specific and so similar. The other thing that was really surprising is, most of the supernatural elements that take place in the movie were things that I had experienced or family members had experienced. But there were some historical elements I'd put into the script that I just made up. One of them being that on the property there in Savannah, there had been a plantation house that was burned down during the Civil War, and the current house was built over that plantation house, and that causes some havoc, right? Just made it up. We bring in a historian to research the property and the history of the area. There was a plantation house on my property that burned down during the Civil War, and I had no idea, and I had literally just put that into the script. So there was interesting things like that popped up that were really shocking, really shocking.
Will that documentary be part of like a special features bonus with the film when it's released, or is that going to be its own separate thing?
We worked way too hard on it for it to be a DVD bonus. So it's going to be a separate film that we're going to release. We're still doing post-production on that. We expect to have that wrapped up probably in the next 2 months, and we'll have a release probably several months after that. But it'll be fun. I mean, I think in many ways, the documentary is even scarier than the narrative because it's just filled with security cam footage, interviews with people that things happen to, and one of the things that we cover in the documentary as well were the challenges we faced trying to film in an actual haunted house, because we shot the movie in my house, and I really wanted to I wanted to capture what it felt like to be in an actual haunted house, because so often I'll see supernatural haunted house films and, blood's coming out of the walls and creatures are jumping out, that's not what happens, right? At least not in my experience. So the film really focuses on that slow creeping dread that comes when you live in an actual house that has darkness in it. So we wanted to capture that. And the documentary just really goes in detail about it, but also it covers what we faced. We had a lot of cast and crew who were threatening to quit because they just were so scared shooting in the house. They had things happen to them. So I think it'll be a fun documentary for people who are interested in kind of behind the scenes of filmmaking, and also people who are interested in, haunted houses and the supernatural and those kind of things.
Mind blowing. It's too bad Allison's not here. Halloween's her favorite thing. She would talk to you for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, she missed a good one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you guys check it out if you get a chance.
Yeah, we will. The listeners will as well, I'm sure. Maybe just switching back to Quantum Leap for a bit. You've obviously been a fan for a long time. What kind of What kind of changes have you noticed? We've all been observing this as fans ourselves, that this is a relaunch, a reboot, however you want to describe it. This is a different show and a similar show. Have you had a chance to see the first few episodes that have aired?
Yes. Well, there's several things about the show that are different that I find very interesting. I really like the fact that they focus much more on the present. I remember as a kid watching Quantum Leap. I mean, there were a couple of quick moments where we saw, 1999 or whatever, but I like how they really kind of delve into that a lot. And I like kind of seeing the world of the present day Quantum Leap, the 2022 is really fun. And I think it affects the dynamics a lot. In the original, it really felt like it was those two main characters, and everyone else was kind of like guest characters every episode. And this feels more like a bigger team. We're really seeing the team side of the Quantum Leap project. And for me, the idea of the ties to the government. I mean, that was obviously hinted at, and maybe I was a kid, I didn't pick up on as much when I watched the original, but that sense of like being a government project and the Pentagon aspect of it, I think that's really interesting. It gives a lot of places for the storytellers to kind of dig into that maybe in the original they didn't go into as much.
I'm finding that a very interesting new wrinkle in this as well. And I'm appreciating the fact that they're building that as much as they're sort of building the leap part of the series, because it is part of the dynamic that we never really got to see in the original series. And it allows for a new kind of storytelling on Quantum Leap that wasn't possible with Sam and Al just being the main ones that you see. That being said, since you are a nerd like us, what is your favorite episode of Quantum Leap? Because I know all the listeners are dying to know.
Gosh, the favorite episode. There were so many that I loved. The episode, and I don't know episode titles. You guys may know that, but when
we'll
Sam,
help you with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the JFK episodes were really cool. When it goes back in time to we think to stop the JFK assassination, you learn it's actually to keep his wife Jackie O alive.
Oh, that's Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. The season 5 opener. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So, you guys know more than me. But yeah, I remember that one really was powerful and stood out in my mind. But the dynamic between Al and Sam was so amazing. Like I said, and for me, the series finale, I know some folks didn't like it, but I loved it, and I thought it. I mean, again, it just brings me to tears. I thought that final scene, where we see Sam, show up in Al's ex-wife's room and go to speak to her. I was like, that is it. It's still, like I said, when I try to describe it, I'm not even going to get into it on this because I don't want to break down tears, but it was such a powerful ending to the show for me. So
we're still talking about it 3 decades later.
We are, yeah. And we've gotten to speak to Susan Deal, who plays Beth, twice,
wow.
and she still gets emotional about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's affected her. She can't listen to Georgia anymore without welling up. So
yeah,
you're not alone in that.
Yeah.
It's a big touchstone for everybody who was involved, it seems, especially the actors that were in it. So Speaking of actors, I know that you were primarily on set with Raymond and Caitlin. Were you able to interact with any of the other main cast while you were shooting?
Unfortunately, no, because they just, they're obviously at a different set than where we were filming in the Old West set. So Caitlin and Raymond, the only main folks that I got to work with, but my gosh, both of those folks are so nice and talented. So I very much enjoyed working with them, but I would have loved to have at least run into the other cast, at base camp, the trailers or something, but I unfortunately didn't see them.
We know that your time is limited, and I just wanted to know, are there any other aspects of your time working with the show that you haven't touched upon that you'd like to tell us about? Any stories from the set?
Gosh, there's a lot of stories from the set. It was interesting, because it's the Old West, we're wearing layers of leather and I'm wearing a lot of black. And we were filming during the heat wave in LA. So all that sweat you see on me is definitely not fake. It was so hot on set when we were shooting. But I know the crew kept checking on us, and the scene where We had the flames surrounding us, you know, with the big kind of standoff. You know, many times they kept walking up going, are you okay? Everything's safe. You feel comfortable. And I was just thinking, my gosh, I'm getting to shoot these, you know, old cowboy guns and play it in the middle of fire in an old West street. Like, I am definitely good. Like, this is literally what the 8-year-old me would have asked for Christmas if he had the chance. You know what I mean? It was so much fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, yeah, I mean, I literally still looking back on it, I'm just giddy that I got an opportunity to be a part of it and get to play with those, all the actors. The guest actors were great. Obviously, series regulars were awesome, and just the entire team. And something I've noticed just working this business for a while, you know, the energy on set is created at the top, and that energy goes down. And if the people at the top are kind and thoughtful and understanding and helpful, and it just seeps all the way through everyone, and it works the other way as well. And so, you know, for me, it's like it was so clear that the people running the show have created such a great energy and such a great environment, because it's the nature of the show that with every episode being a different location, different time period, there's a lot of guest casts obviously coming in every single week. And they just did such a great job in making all of us feel like we were part of the family. And that doesn't always happen on a TV show where you're coming in for one episode. You know, everyone's been working together for weeks, months, or years. And they just really, we showed up and it's like, boom, from day one, we were just embraced as if we were one of the family. So yeah, kudos to all those guys.
That sounds like kind of a holdover from the environment on the original series. Everybody that we've spoken to could not be any more complimentary to just the vibe on that set, and saying that it really started from Scott and it went down. Scott, we've never heard a bad word about Scott ever from anybody. I mean, he's apparently the nicest guy in the world, and it's nice to hear that we're not just seeing the legacy of Quantum Leap continue in front of the camera. We're seeing sort of that collegial, familial vibe continuing behind the camera as well. So to me, that bodes well for the formula, for the longevity of the show, because if you have an environment like that, I think you're naturally just going to make a more sincere product. So it's so great to hear that is the way it is on that set, because I think it's very important for a lasting success.
Absolutely. And I think when people are comfortable and relaxed, everyone does a better job, from the craft services PA to the writers to the actors. If you're supported and loved and feel like you're part of the team, I think you're going to bring your magic much better than if you don't feel that way.
Well, do you have any messages for fellow leapers out there?
Pursue your dreams, whatever they are. I am so glad that I ignored all my family and friends and quit being a lawyer to pursue being an actor. So.
Fantastic. And that website you mentioned earlier, asavannahhaunting.com, was that right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Everyone listening should check that out. It sounds like a great film.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that. So thank you so much, Mark, for appearing on the Quantum Leap podcast.
Thank you for having me, guys. This is such a pleasure, and I wish you guys the best of luck. And yeah, hopefully chat again.